Hi guys, this is Melissa Zad for Into Boxing, and I am so delighted to be joined by none other than Frank Smith. We're here at the Bowatsi Richards workout. Frank, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I was just commenting that Frank looks really tanned because he's been in Milan for all of 5 hours. How was that?
It was good. Great show. Another great show in Milan. I was actually in Vegas as well before. I forgot to say the Vegas bit. I didn't get out into the sunshine too much. But yeah, I'm glad you think I'm looking tanned, because normally I look like a ghost.
Yeah, no, you're looking great. I'm hoping that the rest of us in London catch up with all the lovely weather that we've been having. It's been beautiful. We have a really fantastic card on Saturday night. I think anyone who's originally from London, myself included, is very excited about it. It's a domestic clash that has been spoken about for so long, almost like a fantasy fight. Joshua Bowatsi, obviously the Olympic background, Craig Richards with the more recent high-profile fights. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it's a great fight. I think we've been speaking about it for a while, but it's the right time for it to happen. It probably would have been too early if we did this before. As you say, Joshua Bowatsi's come through the Olympics, the amateurs. He's been built up since we signed him. Back in it was after the 2016 Olympics, so around 2017. And Craig Richards has come up the hard way. He's had it a bit tougher. Not tougher in terms of, but he maybe hasn't been built as much as Josh has. And I think it's a great fight. I think it's a great fight where we find out where both guys are at. Craig Richards, we saw him in there against Dimitri Bivol, who then went on to do what he did a couple of weeks ago against Canelo. It shows the levels that Craig Richards is at. But Joshua Bowatsi is a great fighter. He's learnt a lot under Virgil Hunter. So I can't wait for it. And it's always good when we promote both guys, because we get them there, we do everything, and then we can't help in the ring. But it's going to be an interesting fight. I'm looking forward to it.
I know you're short on time, so I'm going to shoot out some questions real quick. What do you make of the fact that people say that Joshua Bowatsi is sort of more of the poster boy for Matchroom, and Craig Richards has been underrated?
I think, in truth, because of Joshua Bowatsi's career in the amateurs and the Olympics, he has had probably a bit more of a build-up throughout his career. He has had more of the shine around him, maybe. I wouldn't disagree with that. And I had that conversation with Craig Richards when it came to, because Craig Richards feels like he hasn't had that same care, and he feels like he's been built up unwarranted. And I'm like, well, this is your chance to go, when we were making the fight, this is your chance to go and take it all from him. Everything that Josh has had built up that you feel you haven't had, you can take it all from him on Saturday night. So, I can understand that point, but it's because they've come from different points. Craig didn't have that sort of amateur background in the Olympics, in the GB squad that Josh did.
Obviously, we've seen Craig Richards in there against Bivol, and it was very close on the scorecards. I mean, I think it was like 1 round or 2 rounds, but extremely close. It was a very different Bivol that we saw against Canelo, but where does that kind of put Craig in maybe the casual boxing fans' landscape, watching him against Bivol, then watching Bivol against Canelo?
I think a lot of times it's the mindset of, regardless of whether you watch the fight, you can say, oh, that was a close fight he had against Bivol. In people's minds, they go, but he's the guy who just built, so it does sway people, especially people who don't actually, like I say, watch every fight. But, I think Craig's had that experience now. Bowatsi had a tough fight against Kalic, but looked really good against Richard Bolotniks. Great finish there at the Fight Camp show. I think in the fans' minds, I think it's quite a close fight, if I'm honest. People who have been following Josh for a long time because of the way he's been built up, they may feel, because they don't know Craig Richards, that it's close. But I do think in boxing fans, that they'll be thinking it's a close fight.
Obviously, going to the Bivol-Canelo fight, we saw Bivol put on an incredible performance against Canelo, really neutralised actually a lot of the tools that Canelo has in his arsenal. Do you think that Canelo just went up a step too far in terms of the weight, in terms of facing Bivol?
I personally think on the night he faced the better man. Dimitri Bivol had great defence. He boxed brilliantly the whole way through the fight. I think he just boxed the better man on the night. I'm not saying he can't go back in there and beat him. Some people think that it just goes the same way again. But I think Canelo was arguably, maybe not now, but pound for pound number 1 fighter in the world. You see what he's done across the weight divisions. You see what he did against Sergei Kovalev. I think maybe again people didn't rate Bivol because of the previous performances, but he's a very talented fighter, who many people would have written off. But I believed he could go in and do what he did. But there's no stopping Canelo from going back. Maybe we do the GGG fight next in September, and then do the rematch next year. Massive fight still, and Canelo, because of his skill and his ability, there's no reason why he couldn't go back in there and get the win. But it's a tough fight.
Is that what Canelo's plan is, to go against Triple G and then face Bivol again, or is he more focused on Bivol and then Triple G?
I think there's still discussions going on. He's just coming off the back of, not his first loss, but I think his first loss against Mayweather was 22, when he was 22 years old, and many people would have written him off then. This is a different time. Everyone thought he was unbeatable. So I think there's a lot he'll be going through now, thinking, and I'm sure he'll be wanting to make a plan of what's next very soon. And I think the Golovkin fight's a very interesting fight. We saw two great fights. It would be great to do the trilogy. And Golovkin, although a tougher fight he had against Murata in Japan, he came through with the winners. He always, he looked, like I say, although he made it a little bit tougher, it was actually ended up being a decent performance. And I think it's going to be an exciting fight if that one happens. So let's see how things play out. I'm sure Eddie will be speaking to him very soon.
Okay, last question from me. WBC, talking about Tyson Fury's retirement. We've got the AJ Usyk 2 coming up, hopefully to be confirmed really soon. Obviously, the public want to see Tyson Fury face the winner of that. What are your thoughts around his retirement, that fight happening, etc.?
I think Tyson Fury will retire if Usyk wins, but not if AJ wins. I think it's more than anything, there's so much between AJ and Tyson. They've been so much back and forward across the years, and I think that's the kind of fight that will get him motivated. I'm not sure whether he really wants to fight Oleksandr Usyk, but I don't know. I think I saw the WBC saying they won't push him. I kind of think it's fair enough. He hasn't got a mandatory. It's not like he fought 6 months ago and he's still sitting there. He fought 3.5 weeks ago, something like that. So I think it's fair enough. So maybe he's waiting to see how things play out. Maybe he just wants some rest. But yeah, let's see how things go. I think AJ's got to go out there and do the business against Usyk, and then hopefully we can finally make the big one.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.